Go on then.
Are you nervous?
I am a bit. It's been a while since I've done anything like this. Like I said, I've been out of the game for a little while because I've had my head in here for months now.
Well, let's get straight into it then.
That was one reason I reached out to you, just to see, get back into the whole promotion thing and get myself out there again.
Right. Well, let's get on with it, folks. It's Jonathan Hull and Son, back again.
Oh, it's lovely to be here. Lovely to see you.
And you, pal. And you. A bit of a change from the last time you came on here. It was sort of February 23, I think, or January 23, the last time you were on.
It's a couple of years, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah. Working in your shed, the back of the house.
Yeah. I mean, that little workshop, it did me good. It gave me my start and I loved it. It was beautiful. And it's a little bit heartbreaking to walk into it now because it's just a pile of rubbish in there now. It's just an empty space with piles of rubbish in it, which is a bit hard to look at. But then I come down here and I go, ooh. So, yeah.
So come on then, behind you, anyone that's not watching the video, then Jonathan is now sat in like a proper garage. I mean, it's like a big industrial unit, isn't it? With the roller door at the back, bike ramp, loads of space.
Yeah, well, I've gone from 50 square feet, which sounds a lot because it's because you're saying hundreds, but that's about the size of a normal double garage. So that's the space I was working in. Yeah. And then I've now got 860 square feet, and I have a separate kitchen, bathroom. Yeah. I've got an upstairs office space. It's crazy, and these great big roller shutter doors to get in and out. I've just got room to breathe. I'm not tripping over myself. So
awesome.
It's massive for me. It's such an upgrade.
What pushed this then? What pushed the decision to move and upgrade, so to speak?
Well, I've been trying for a long, long time, and the problem has always been A, the cost of it, and B, the location. Mm-hmm. And I've been looking. I've nearly taken units half the size of this for twice the money over the years. Wow. I've got some very good friends on this industrial estate. And I knew this one was coming up. I'd gotten like an inside scoop on it. So I very quickly sort of put my name on it. And it took about 6 months. I've learned to keep these things quiet now. Yeah. Last time I went for a unit, I lost out on it at the last minute. So I kept it very quiet. And I just sat on it for a little while. And then finally the people moved out that had it. It used to be a car body shop. Uh-huh. And I did everything in my power to get moved it, to get it and put my name on it, if you like. Mm-hmm. So it was a process. It was definitely a process, but yeah, I got it, and I've got it for steel as well. It's it's half what I've been I thought I'd be paying, and it's right on my doorstep. So I live 500 yards up the road. So it couldn't have been better for me. So I knew I had to have it. My wife says if I set my mind at stuff, I just do everything in my power to get to do it. And I did in this case. But what really drove it was productivity. I'm not short of orders in general.
Wow.
I'm not short of work. The problem has always been getting through them quick enough. Uh-huh. And deadlines kept moving, and I just couldn't work fast enough in the space I had. I was one bike on, one bike off. I was constantly tripping over myself. I mean, it was only a matter of time before I set the place on fire, or I had an accident, or suffocated myself with gases or whatever. So that was a part of it, but it was more like productivity. Every machine now has its place, with room around it to work. Yeah. And I don't have to get anything out, set it up, spend an hour setting a piece of equipment up to use it, to put it away again,
Yeah, that must be awesome to have that.
Yeah, well, I did a job. Somebody asked me to fit a new exhaust to their for the Malay Malay bike that I built last year. They bought it. The customer bought it back in, and he wanted a fancier exhaust for it. So I did that for him. It would have taken me a day and a half at my old shop. It took me 2.5 hours, and it was done in here. So that's what I mean. It's that productivity, just being able to move quickly from one.
This week, we are supported by Ultimate Add-ons. Ultimate Add-ons are the premium manufacturer of mobile phone and action camera mounting solutions for motorcycles. With a kit, you know all the blurb. I read this out every week, folks. Ultimate Add-ons, they make phone cases, action camera mounts, loads of things like that. Auxiliary battery charger, charging ports that you put into the power points in your bike. They do all this sort of stuff. They're phone cases, they're shockproof, they're waterproof, they're dustproof. They mean that you can still use the phone as a phone, you can still use the camera on your phone, everything like that. They don't get affected by any vibration from your bike. They're great bits of kit. I've been using them since about 2018. I've had them on all of my bikes. Whenever I take a bike out to do a review, it's always an Ultimate Add-ons case that is on there, and I use that teamed up with Kalimoto as my navigation when I'm riding. No issues at all with any of the cameras on any of my phones since like 2018, maybe even 2017. Great bits of kit, folks. If you head to ultimateaddons.com and you use the code TeapotOne, all one word, all written out, TeapotOne, with the number 10, TeapotOne 10, then you can get 10% off. So a huge thanks to Ultimate Add-ons for their ongoing and continued support. Are you the type of person that needs... does clutter affect your mindset? Like for me, my office is terrible. Like I've just stripped this office out. It's just a little small 9 by sort of 6 foot corner room that in the house that is my office, but it fills up with just soot so easily, and then that infects my brain then, and like, it really affects my concentration and like the ability to create stuff, because I feel like I get brain fog. I can't concentrate on anything.
Absolutely.
Are you like that as well?
100%. And I think working that long in such a small space really trained me to that. I mean, I've always been the same. I'm definitely, and I don't say this lightly, I'm somewhere on the spectrum. I have those tendencies. And I need clarity. And if there's mess everywhere, I can't work, and I get angry. I can feel myself getting angry.
Oh, mate, I'm the same. And, I'm exactly the same.
But even when you can see the place is tidy, now I've had it tidy up for you, Bruce. Even when the place is tidy, and I can still put something down, and then 3 or 4 seconds later and I can't remember where I've put it, and then I've spent a couple of minutes looking for it. I'm still like that all the time. Yeah. But if you've got that sort of mind and the place is a mess, you don't stand a chance, Yeah. So yeah, and I think I've had some strong influences working with the racing team recently, and working with my friend Bob, who's my friend Bob Moore is a unit across there. So now I'm dead close to him, which is amazing. He'll probably get sick of me now. But yeah, keeping a tidy shop, tidy house, tidy mind, and that's when you can be the most productive, just clearing up after yourself.
Absolutely. And you had Gus down as well, didn't you? Man Cave Makings.
Oh, mate, that guy is an absolute gem. And I said to him, if I could afford to take him on, I would. Having somebody else in the shop. And we synced up really quickly. Like we were moving around the workshop, and we didn't once get in each other's way. And having somebody like him, where I can just at the start of the day, could you finish this side panel for me? Yeah. Could you put me aside? I need a tail tidy for this bike. Can you sort that out? And then by the end of the day, he's done it, and it's beautiful. Toy with the idea of taking on an apprentice, but it would be a labor, training somebody up and being there with them all the time, checking their work and stuff. But having Gus in, you could just set him off, and and I think he's enjoying having something to do. He's sat waiting for his new house to clear, everything to to go through on that, and he's stuck for something to do. So I think he quite enjoys coming down and helping me out.
Yeah, I bet he does. But he's had a bit of time off, hasn't he? Every now and then he pops up on the socials again, and he's somewhere and he just does something, doesn't he? It's the old Gus. He gets back into it, and then he just disappears off the socials again. So.
Well, the first time he came down, he built all these benches with me, and I was just going to nail and glue and screw some planks of wood together, but he's dovetailed joints and everything.
Yeah, I bet.
Yeah. Excuse me.
Mega. We're also supported by the Influencer Store. The Influencer Store helps you build your brand big or small, providing you with a solution and apparel. We help you to increase your fan base while supporting you with starting your own influencer clothing line with nothing more than just an idea or design, and there are no hidden costs. For more info, come check us out at theinfluencerstore.co.uk or drop us an email at online@influencerstore.co.uk for more information. Now, the Influencer Store, they do all my merch over at TeapotOne and for Bru Time. So if you head to TeapotOne.com or theinfluencerstore.co.uk, go to the TeapotOne section. If you buy any of my merch, you're helping to support the channel and the podcast. So a huge thank you from me to you in advance, and a big thanks to the Influencer Store for their ongoing support. Now, a big shout out to all of you, everybody who's listening or watching the podcast. When you like the vids, when you share, if you comment, if you leave a rating on the audio podcast, either on Spotify or on Apple Podcast or whatever platform you're listening to, wherever it is, if you rate the podcast, if you share it with people, you really do help to build the audience, to get it picked up by algorithms and get it promoted out there. So a huge thank you from me. You've helped build this podcast to one of the top 5 motorcycle podcasts out there. And those of you over in the clan on Patreon, so it's patreon.com/TeapotOne, you are a special, special bunch of people. I could not do this full time without your help. So a huge, huge heartfelt thank you from me. If you fancy checking that out, folks, if you fancy being part of the clan and coming on some of the weekend rides that we do, then head to patreon.com/TeapotOne and see if there's anything that takes your fancy. Let's get back to the podcast. Do you have a beverage for this evening?
I'm on cups of tea and tonight and blackcurrant squash. that's me for tonight, I'm afraid.
I can match you on the squash, but that's for after. I've got a beer for just now. So Slange, here's to your help.
I meant to bring some down, but I totally forgot.
No worries. Slange. Right, you mentioned race team. What's the race team all about?
Well, I got an opportunity to do some freelance work for a company called Minovation. And Minovation make mining equipment, right? So they make cooling jets for really high level mining equipment, you know, the big business end of boring and drilling equipment. And it goes all over the world, and they've patented these tiny cooling jets in a whole range, and they engineer them in-house and ship them all over the world. And it's an incredibly successful business. So I got in touch with them because I really wanted some machining training, some manual machining training, old school stuff. But in the back of my mind was always that they have one of the most successful works racing teams in the classic racing motorcycle club history, right?
Right.
So I knew this. So I got a job as a trainee engineer on the side, like as a freelance. And then while I was there, because it's all in the same building, I was making sure that my face was around the bikes, and I was talking to Martin, who is the head of the racing team. And they build Matchless G50s. They've got all the plans from Matchless. They build G50s from scratch in the workshop using all the machinery, you know. The only thing they don't do is engine castings.
Right.
So they have engines casted, but everything else. So you can get a brand new Matchless G50 from them, race ready, if you've got enough money. Like,
wow.
Yeah. So it absolutely fascinated me. And over the course of a sort of year, Martin, understandably, he's a bit like my friend Bob over here. You have to work to get their, those people you work to get their respect.
Yeah,
because they get bombarded with people all the time wanting stuff from them, right? So over a period of a sort of year, Martin has become a really close friend, and he's been such an influence on me. And we're obviously, when I got this new place, I left there to really get stuck into my stuff. But I still see Martin, and he still comes over, and you can see him and that motorcycle workshop of his all over mine. There is evidence. Yeah. And I wouldn't change that for the world. I mean, I went to a couple of the races. I went over to Croft, and you could see why they were the best team in the club, and they have been for years. They ended up, they've retired from the racing scene this year, having won the championship again. And second place was the new first for all the other teams. They were that good. It was on the cards. Minnovation were winning every time on these G50s. And they are stunning bits of kit, absolutely stunning. The engineering in them is insane. So yeah, I was really lucky for that, to have like those top level people around me. And of course, learning the engineering, the reason I went there was to learn to manual machine better. And I've certainly done that too, working on those little jets and turning manual lathes and collet lathes and old Bridgeport milling machines. It was a real education, awesome. And it excites me learning. I'm 50 years old, but learning does it for me.
Absolutely. And that keeps, the way I find it is if you're still keen to learn and you're still learning new things about something that you've invested hours or years of your life into, if you're still learning new stuff in it, it keeps it exciting for you, doesn't it? It keeps the passion alive, I think. The appetite for that, whatever that thing is.
Absolutely. I mean, that's why bike building, custom bikes, whatever you want to call it, that's why it is so interesting, because it's changing all the time. And I've gone right back now to engineering. That's what turns me on, like really good engineering in a bike. And I will spend hours on it. And I absolutely love it. But yeah.
So nowadays then, are you working on multiple projects at once now then? Or are you still just doing one at a time, get that one done, move on to the next one?
I am. I mean, you've seen a lot of this one recently, right? On the, excuse me, on the socials.
Yeah. I saw you were fabricating the light cowling.
Yeah, that was hard.
Yeah.
That was a lot harder than I thought it was going to be. This bike was supposed to be easy because it's 2022 CRF.
Yeah.
It's done hardly any miles. It's a brand new bike almost, right? So I thought, I probably underquoted it by a considerable amount, because I thought just a cosmetic rebuild. That's all it is.
Bash bosh, I'll have it done. Yeah.
But I've, that took a good week to sort that. And then those big aluminium side panels that I've had to fabricate. And then even the mud guards, they've all been hand built. And then getting over the surfboard, because the customer wants to carry a surfboard on the side. So that was an engineering nightmare as well. But we got there. I'm just waiting for the stuff to come back from powder coat, and then it should be done.
Awesome.
Awesome. But yeah, I'm doing multiple bikes at the minute. But I'm having to playing catch up because it took me a good month and a bit to move into this place and get to that point. So I am behind again, but I'm catching up quicker.
So what's the plan with the new shop then? Is this going to be a premises where like people can walk in off the street, or is it still like your place? And if people want a bike, they can arrange a time with you to come and. That's more like it. I mean, I'm not a sort of a passing trade business. Nobody's gonna, because people are asking me if I'm gonna have a big sign out the front. Well,
nobody's going to be driving up Bag Hill Lane and think, oh, I need to spend 25 grand on a custom motorbike.
On the way for some milk. I'll just get a custom motorbike. Yeah.
So, I wanted it to be nice. I've made a lovely sort of kitchen reception area. I haven't started my upstairs yet, but I've got quite a big office up there. Landlord's given me permission to put a big window in so you can stand in the office area and look down onto the workshop. Yeah. But I wanted that to be kind of a lounge as well, like a sort of lounge coffee table, that sort of thing. So I can have people around. We can be comfortable. You can sit and have a coffee. You can, watch what's going on, have a chat. So there is that aspect of it. I wanted it to be very sort of modern and professional when you walk in, but then still be a fully functioning workshop,
Yeah. Awesome.
So that's the plan.
Right. We've got some questions to get through. I chucked stuff out obviously on the socials, but I did it on my Patreon as well. And we've got quite a few questions over on Patreon for us to get through. And I think that'll open up. You've done this before. It opens up all different avenues of conversation with the questions. So shall we tackle them just now then and see where it takes us?
Yeah, we can, by all means. Lovely. There was a good one on Instagram.
Yeah.
I can't remember what it was, but I remember thinking that would be a good one to.
Okay. Well, we got half a dozen or 7 questions. I think we've got 7 questions on Patreon, and then there's a few over in Insta as well for us to get to. So let's get through these. So first one over at patreon.com/TeapotOne. Peaky. So that's a Peaky Biker. Hi there. After racing for many years, some things come and change the game, like the quick shifter on the Triumph. Seamless. Question to you. What's the most important upgrade and one you'll ask the customer to have for a bike when building it?
See, that's difficult because I predominantly build bikes based on classic bikes. So most of the donor vehicles that I work on are 70s, 80s, 90s, early 90s. And though some of those bikes like the K100 were groundbreaking bikes at the time, right? They're old machines, old technology now. One thing that fascinated me on this one that I'd never come across before was the ABS system on it. And so that was interesting to work on a bike with this sort of ABS because it works on a tilt sensor. So there's a mercury switch tilt sensor in it. It senses how you bank and then applies that to the ABS. So that was a fascinating. And having ridden that bike as a stock bike for a couple of months before I took it apart, I absolutely loved it. And I know there's mixed reactions to the 300 Rally. But for me, it was beautiful. I can see why people change the suspension and stuff like that.
Everyone says it's quite soft, don't they?
Yeah, the KTM is better on the suspension. But so I'd swap that out. And I did discover why. Only one side is sprung and the other side's dampening.
No, I didn't know.
On the front of these,
that's right.
So that was new to me as well. I was convinced that somebody had not put a spring back in before. I was like, what on earth is going on here? So yeah, I think I'd change it for a couple of springers and get a decent sort of front end going on it. But the bike itself, I'd buy one. I would spend money buying a CRF 300 Rally. Yeah,
one of the most popular ones out there, aren't they? For good reason. They're just
really hard to get. I mean, that's another reason I underquoted on this because I wasn't expecting to spend $6,000 on a 2-year-old donor bike because the waiting list is so long at Honda for a new one. It's driven the price of the second-hand ones up.
$6,000 for a second-hand one?
Nearly.
I thought they were $5,500 brand new, weren't they?
This particular one was six something brand new.
God, they've gone up.
There was a 6-month waiting list, and I ended up paying. I mean, I got a deal. I ended up paying about $5,000 for it, but it wasn't. It wasn't far off. So yeah, I wasn't expecting that, and I did consider. I did say to the client, should we wait and get a new one? But I'm going to have to put the price up. But but he was adamant he wanted the 300 Rally.
Right. Gotcha.
And I can see why. So yeah, that was a long-winded answer to that question. It's difficult for me. I've never ridden a bike with the quick shifter, so I can't really.
Have you not?
No, but I've heard. I know. I do read about things, and there's mixed reactions. Bob buys these incredible bikes. He's got a collection of M3s and BMW M. Ducati Pinagals, and he prefers the manual, even though he's only one leg. He does it all with a thumb shifts. So yeah, I couldn't really tell you about that, but yeah.
So like, there's no modern gadget that you've seen come along that you've thought, oh yeah, I want that integrated. I tell you what, have you seen the current trend for autos, which kind of boils my piss a little bit on bikes? But there are some that are automatic. Some automatics, on you bikes. They make sense, but on others, no.
Yeah, you can put an automatic gearbox on BMW K100 because basically they're a car engine, right? I'm pointing behind me because I used to have one there.
Yeah, that's right.
So the K100 engine is basically a car engine, car transmission, everything. But there is a few people that have put automatic gearboxes in them. Just because you can, it'd be interesting to do that. But you'd only do it once. And I couldn't imagine riding a bike with an automatic. I mean, I used to have the Vespa when I was a kid that was just rev and go, that was fun. But, otherwise, what's the point, Unless you are... Yeah, I mean, unless you're like Bob, you've had an injury, you've lost your leg, that might be great for people with disabilities or differently abled. But I think for a normal, sorry, I shouldn't have said normal there. I think for able-bodied people, I think why would you? You just having a geared bike is something else. Then,
for me, I rode Honda's DCT on their Big Africa Twin. And I really didn't like it. I just didn't gel with it and was kind of the same mindset as you. I just thought, well, if you can work the gears, why would you choose this option for the kind of riding that but it's a personal thing, isn't it? Because it's for the kind of riding I like to do. Then I rode the Goldwing, and the Goldwing obviously has DCT, and it 100% fit that bike. And even, that Goldwing's an amazing machine. You put it in sport mode and the thing goes. It doesn't hang about. But DCT was even fun on that bike. And then I've ridden Honda's E-Clutch on the CBR 650R. And again, it was surprisingly good. But I did think to myself, I would still... That E-Clutch system, it still has a clutch. So if you want to use the clutch, you can. Alternatively, you don't need to. You can just go up and down through the gears traditionally, with your foot the way you normally would. And you don't touch the clutch. And that was really good. And I actually thought to myself, I quite like this system because when you can't be arsed and you just want to trundle around, you can just leave it in auto. Or alternatively, if you fancy riding it like a traditional bike, you can if you want. And it's also got a really good quick shifter blipper there, in a sense. So you can gear change without it. But then I've ridden BMW's ASA. I haven't published a vid yet because they ain't going to like it. But I hated it. I
thought, you see, I know you have a thing with a friend of yours about BMWs and KTM. So I thought I'd come on and put, I thought
fly the flag. I really didn't like the ASA on the Beamer in automatic, but when you put it in the manual mode and you just use the paddles, going up and down the gears manually, it was a lot better, but it was still a really clunky gear change, I found. Really clunky. Right. And KTM have just brought theirs out, haven't they? They've just announced it. So they've got an automatic transmission coming. So let's see it seems to be the trend, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's interesting. I don't know whether I don't know. I'd have to ride one of the ones you're suggesting. I think to try it out. But I like the rawness of. That's why I love the classic bikes, right? Because it's just stripped back, frame and engine, make it go, and I love that. Drop it. I've fallen in love with the BMW K100 engine. I know people love it or hate it, but there's nothing like dropping a couple of gears in that and just bombing. Yeah. They are, when you strip all the crap off a K100, they're actually really fast little bikes, and they are a hell of an engine if you know what to do with them, and you take all that excess weight that's on a K100 that you really don't need. If you strip all that away, they become very fast little bikes. You need to drop them a couple of inches as well, so that engine's only about that far off the floor.
Yeah.
Oh, straight lines like nothing else.
Beautiful. I just took my Jigsaw today. I can say this on the podcast because this won't go out till next week. But I'm keeping it as a surprise because I have one of my Patreon meetups this weekend, like clan weekends. So I'm taking the Jigsaw up for that. It's going to go up on the back of a mate's van, and I'll be on my GS. And then when we arrive in the car park for the ride out on Saturday morning, I'll wheel the Jigsaw out and ride that for Saturday. So I've had to get it insured, and today was the MOT day. So I rode it for the first time. I've not been able to road test the bike at all since we got it back on the road. So today was the first time I rode it, and oh my God, that bike is quick. Holy shit. Yeah. There's no gadgets on it. Well, obviously there are some, it's fuel injected and all that jazz, but there's no ABS. It's got a slipper clutch, but that's it. There's no quick shifter. There's no blipper. There's none of the modern gadgets that I'm used to with the GS, like wheelie control, traction control, all that. There's none of that at all in this bike. And it was so good just to ride it again, just for me, to me, it just feels like throttle, chain, throttle, engine, chain, back wheel, go. And it was just brilliant. I loved it. Had what a hoot I've had today on that thing. So yeah,
it's fun, isn't it? I mean,
I loved it.
Those when I do the BMWs, I delete the ABS on them. We put a S1000RR front end on it with us with all that stopping power. It's half the weight of the original bike. You stick a K1200 rear wheel on it, and it's back to being just frame, engine, and the road. It's they're a blast. But there is something about that in there. Those fast bikes that are just the basics.
Yeah. I used to think the inline fours. I used to think these things cannot match the big adventure bikes for the initial grunt. Like the grunt off the line. To me, I always thought yeses and all the big adventure bikes, they'd pee all over the sports bikes to like sort of 40, 50 mile an hour. And then the sports bikes sort of start to take over there. I tell you what, this blooming 2011 GSX-R1000 I've got, today it was just, boom. There's no lull in it. It's got grunt everywhere. I don't know if it's amazing. Just because it's loud. It's got a really loud and sort of burbly, farty exhaust on it, Pipeworks exhaust on it, which sounds amazing after 100,000 miles. It's like there's probably no dampening or padding in that exhaust at all anymore. But it sounds mint, and maybe that makes me think it's going quicker than it actually is. Just a smile I've had on my face all day. It's like, oh yes, I've needed this.
That's it, isn't it? Yeah.
Sometimes modern bikes are too. They're almost too refined. That's been a complaint of mine about particularly this new 1300.
Well, absolutely. GS. I mean, you're telling me about the Goldwing, and the automatic. I mean, it's taken. It takes the fun out of it for me.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not a long distance rider like you. I'm not. I go out joyrides on the bikes I build, and I might do 20, 30 mile round trip. And I just want to have fun. No destination. I know I'm going to get back where I started. I'm just going out and blasting the cobwebs off and clearing my mind, and that's my riding style. That's what I like doing.
Yeah.
I don't commute on them, or go on big adventures. Though I would love to. I'd love to have the time to go on some big adventure on one of my bikes. But it's a release for me. Yeah, I guess so. I need to build myself a bike because I don't currently own one. I keep building them for myself and then end up selling them. So, yeah, I think I want to build a K for myself. Maybe I fancy having a go at a Norton, an old Norton Commando, something like that. Do you? Yeah, yeah. So I've got ideas. But I've got to keep the business going now. I've got 4 or 5 bikes on the books at the minute that I need to get going.
Yeah, absolutely.
So it's never the time, really.
Right, cheers to that one, Brian. Peaky Biker. Next one,
Thank
Adam
you,
B. Evening. With the sidecar guy's world record attempt for reversing being a current topic, would you consider a custom sidecar project? Or is that against your mantra of not having anything unnecessary on a build? Yes. Have you heard about this, the world record attempt?
Going backwards on the sidecar.
Yeah. I think it's a world record for the longest reverse journey, I think.
Wow. Well, that's exciting.
Yeah.
When I was at Croft last year, there was the sidecar teams were all up there, and I got drawn to them because they were using the old Boxer engines in them. So they were all R100s, and I got chatting to the guy. There's one guy that makes all the winning R100 engines for these sidecar bikes, and I was fascinated by the engineering in those things. So from a racing point of view, the racing bike sidecars are absolutely incredible things. I'd love to have a crack at that. But I love the aesthetics of a really nice sort of, bullet retro sort of bullet sidecar. So, and I know my wife would absolutely love it. So yeah, I'm up for trying something like that, definitely. And quite rightly so. I mean, my mantra, I'm a minimalist bike designer. And my mantra has always been, if it doesn't make the bike go faster, stop faster, or legal, then it's gone. And then I get this to do, which is just because the customer set me a challenge, and I went, wow, I need to have a go at that. And that's just covered in aluminium bodywork, shiny, and a surfboard, for God's sake.
And are you enjoying this? Are you enjoying this, like the elaborate side of design rather than the minimalist?
It's massively time consuming, but this bike has tested my fabrication skills and my engineering like no other. So I have enjoyed it in that point of view, and I think it's going to turn out pretty cool. I think it'll be a love it or hate it thing for everybody else, but as far as build quality, I mean, it's been a hell of a journey, and there's a lot going on. But I'm looking forward to getting back to my stripped back calves,
Right, Jonathan.
Yeah,
you brought this up. Love it or hate it design. I'm going to ask you something.
Go on.
The new BMW R1300 GS Adventure. What are your thoughts?
Right, I need to have a look at it again. I have seen it, and I know people talking about it. You see, I'm not normally an adventure bike guy either, am I? And then this happened. If you can call it, is a 300 rally an adventure bike? Would you call it an adventure bike?
I am of the mindset any bike is an adventure bike. Any bike will let you go on an adventure. Any bike will go anywhere. Not any rider will. That's the way I look at it.
There you are. Yeah, there you are. So I don't think I'm qualified to comment on that, but I'd like to see it again. And
I hated it when I saw the launch pics. Hated it. And then literally the next day, there were loads of pictures on Instagram, and I didn't like any of them, bar one. There was one picture of there was just a picture that made me go, ooh, I like the look of that. And then every day thereafter, I started to like it more and more. And now I've seen it in the flesh at my dealership.
What did you say it was? 1300 GS?
Yeah, 1300 GS A, 1300 GS Adventure.
I'm Googling it as we speak.
It does look like a Lego bike, but I've seen it in the flesh and I love it. Just the things like the welds along the tank, they're stunning. It's just a beautiful looking machine in the flesh. He's gone quiet.
I've gone quiet because it's. Oh wow! Yeah. It's that blocky front, isn't it? Yeah, I remember.
Yeah. Don't be diplomatic.
It kind of works. It wouldn't be the direction I'd take that in. But you know what? It looks like an electric bike, doesn't it?
It's got
it looks like it kind of has that sort of 90s PC with wheels on it. But I think, have you ridden this?
No, not yet. I will be next week. Well, very soon. I'm riding it.
I'd be interested in knowing. I mean, it's gonna be pretty good, isn't it?
Honestly, mate,
it's just interesting. It's interesting design, and I'm up for people pushing the boundaries.
There's nothing like it.
Doing something different.
Nothing like it at the moment.
The one thing I do love about bikes is they're so different to modern cars, where every modern car manufacturer, they're all reading the same playbook. Everything starts blending into one big grey and black lump. And bikes have never done that, to that extent. So I'm all up for people pushing the boundaries, whether it's BMW or KTM or whoever. But Motorrads are great for doing that, though. Some of those great big, 2-liter boxers are just nuts, aren't they? And I was placed in the Motorrad room at last year's Bike Shed show, and to be in that company, the bikes in there were just nuts, And again, pushing the boundaries, isn't it?
Absolutely, and I think that's probably why that new adventure has got the reaction that it's had, because it is so radically different to anything else. And with the standard GS, I bought the standard GS, and that is all really sleek and smooth flowing lines. And it's so different than the old GS that a lot of people hated it because they said, "Oh, it's tiny. It's really tiny." It's not physically it's actually not smaller than the normal GS when you put them side by side, but just the lines and everything make it look much thinner. And I've spent a lot of money buying stuff to bulk it out again, to try and make it look utilitarian.
I had my half an eye when I'm doing this. I know it looks like pretty boy and shiny and all that, but when it came to the lines and the design of it, I wasn't happy with the Deus image that I was given by the client. They sent me a picture of the Deus CRF that was built a few years back on the 200, the 250. And I wanted this was a bigger bike. It was the Rally, bigger tank, higher stance. And I wanted this to look more muscular, like bigger shoulders.
Yeah.
So I started looking at the old Dakar bikes, from the old classic sort of Dakar bikes. And they were like that, massive shoulders all the way up front. And I think that for adventure bikes, that looks awesome. I'd like to see them going back that way. And that was the idea of these big triangular sort of side panels on it. So it had, looked a bit like, Sylvester Stallone or whatever, So, that's kind of what I'd like to see with the adventure bike scene, just that somebody coming back, regressing a little bit. And
bike, a physically big bike again. Everything seems to be going.
Yeah, but they've these massive shoulders and tiny waists. That's what those old Dakar bikes look like. They were cool, all the way like a bulldog.
Yeah, absolutely. But I think, and they were very high seated bikes as well, weren't they? The notoriously high bikes. And the way it feels at the moment is the manufacturers are all trying to accommodate shorter riders, male, female, whatever. But they're all trying to accommodate that market. But it leaves people like me out, where I got into adventure bikes because I'm a 20 stone, 6'3" big fat lump. And those bikes fit me, and I could jump on those bikes and finally feel like I was sat on something that didn't make me look like a big gorilla with cymbals. You know what I mean? But all those bikes are now, they seem to be getting smaller now, or the seat heights are coming down. And I feel like I'm getting more and more cramped on these bikes now. So I think that's part of the reason I like the new GS Adventure, is that it's such a physically big bike now. I sit on it and was like, oh, it actually feels normal for me now.
Well, that's great. And it's those considerations that we don't, all of us are thinking about, you know. But you're absolutely right. I don't know how you'd get on with one of my little strip back calves. But yeah.
I'd love to give one a shot.
Well, next time I have a Beamer on the bench, I'll let you know, because it'd be nice to get you out on one. Yeah.
Have we... Yeah, we answered that one. That was Adam, wasn't it? Custom sidecar project. Yeah, you said you'd like to give that one a go.
Yeah, I would at some point. That it is on my list. Whether that be a race, you know, I do want to build a classic race bike, and that's probably because I spent time with innovation. I've even got fairings in stock and stuff, so I'd like to have a go at a classic race bike, and a sidecar is definitely on my to-do list at some point. Yeah. I think I'd like to fabricate the sidecar myself, though. I don't think I'd want to go to a company and have one made. I think I'd be, me being me, I'd want to build it from scratch, I think.
Have you ever ridden a sidecar?
Yeah, very briefly, just round a car park because I wanted to go. But no, I've never taken one out on the road. I do. What fascinates me is, you know, the engineering and all the, you know,
how
making sure your bike can still tilt, and you know, and they follow, and the trail of them, and getting into the maths involved. That fascinates me a bit, you know. So,
we've got a thumbs up now. What are these emojis all about?
I don't know. It is kind of cool though. if you see me randomly doing this, I'm bored. And I'm playing with the remote.
Right, cheers for that one, Adam. Next one, Rebecca Christie. Evening both. I'm trying to erase my memory after Mr. Giggles' questions. I've removed Mr. Giggles' questions. Mr. Giggles, stop leaving that question, please. I'll not go into it. He asks the same question pretty much every week. Every week.
Was it the Yellowstone one?
No.
We had some random question about Yellowstone.
Yeah, that's on Instagram, that one. Yeah. Right. Mr. Giggles just keeps asking about jizz in a beard. Don't even go there.
Nice.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Right. So, never mind. So Rebecca says, I was admiring both your beards. Thanks very much. Cheers, Rebecca. Anyway, Jonathan, is it hard maintaining that cool demeanour 24/7? Your bikes are works of art, and if I had one, I would have to go into a clinic and get worked on for a month before I could match up to that level of cool.
Oh, bless you. Who was that?
It's Rebecca. Rebecca Christie.
Oh, well, Rebecca, thank you very much. I think, you know, from last time, I kind of fell into that sort of what we call the new wave cafe racer scene. And I kind of fell into it by accident. And then I've sort of carried it on. I think, you know, it is a bit trendy, and, you know, it certainly was at the time. And I'm less about that now. But I think good engineering speaks for itself and good design, you know, form follows function, all that. And I think my cues, my own design style just fits very well with that sort of trendy scene, if you like. Yeah, it's cool. Thank you. You made my night, Rebecca. Thank you.
Is there an element of people wanting to back Britain, made in, like a made in Britain company that's out there producing stuff here in the UK?
I hope so. And I certainly, I am passionate about, I'm a passionate patriot. I'm passionate about Yorkshire in particular. Even though I wasn't born here, you know, I've been here for 95% of my life. And I absolutely adore it. And the talent that we have in Yorkshire is incredible. I mean, and the heritage, the engineering heritage for starters. But this little pocket of West Yorkshire I'm in has some of the most amazing things going on that people wouldn't realize. Like in this little industrial estate alone, I've got a guy that builds Formula 3 cars to the highest level next door. I've got Bob building pre-65 trials bikes at the highest level. I've got an engineers that it's a huge business, and they make steam engines. If you can believe it, there's such a huge market to sustain this massive business building classic steam engines. We've got, Minnovation Racing just down the road in Wakefield building world-class classic race bikes, all within, this tiny pocket of West Yorkshire. It's nuts. We've also got the guys that I don't know. We've got Ravenworks just down the road. Good friends of mine. Ravenworks, they're churning out beautiful sort of big block American muscle cars, and all kinds of like Japanese mod cars. It's crazy. I think we are creative. We have this engineering heritage, but we're also very creative with it, I think, and the work ethic as well. The skills. It's I hope people buy into built in Britain. I mean, a lot of my donor bikes aren't British, but they rebuilt here in Yorkshire, and I think I try and use local people if I have to contract anything out. I don't like sending things all over the country. I like to try and keep it in the local community if I can, and I'm lucky. I'm lucky for that because we've got some of the best in the business here. Yeah.
Future sounds bright. Rebecca has a bit of a random question next.
Go on.
Question for both. If this mission to one of Jupiter's moons successfully finds that it can support life, are you moving? Are you taking your motorcycle or the wherewithal to build one suitable for the terrain when you know what it's like? Keep up the great work.
This is where the adventure bikes come in, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
I'll change it. It's all very exciting. I love innovation, space travel, all that sort of thing. I think it's brilliant. And seeing that footage recently of SpaceX catching the super heavy, I mean,
I thought it was a film.
Absolutely insane, that is. What a landmark achievement. I think Darth Musk is one step closer to building his Death Star on Mars. But, in itself, an incredible achievement. And, but he did have to throw hundreds of billions of dollars at that to make it work. Could have probably been better spent, fixing world hunger and stuff. But anyway, I'm into all that. And if I got the opportunity, or my children got the opportunity to move to another planet, I think that'd be incredibly exciting. I'm way too old for that now, I'm guessing, but
mate, the way things are going, the way technology is progressing, who knows? Jesus, who knows? You think 5 years ago, 5 years ago, were we anywhere near where we are now? Was this being talked about 5 years ago? Not. I don't think it was being talked about to the levels that it now is. Interplanetary, genuine, realistic, achievable.
It is absolutely nuts. But I do think we have issues closer to home that the money would be better spent on 100%. Right now. Yeah. But we've got these massive corporations and these big corporate leaders that are throwing their wealth at it. And in fairness, Mr. Musk has done what NASA spent, couldn't do in all their time, and because they've got the funding, haven't they? They've got the money now. So but I can't take any, even though I don't perhaps agree with it, you've got to admire the engineering and the skill that went on in catching that thing. The footage is insane, isn't it? I mean, my wife watched it. And she didn't really understand the gravity of that, and fair enough. A lot of people will watch it and think, well, so what? But, what an achievement.
For me, it was, do you remember the first time he managed to land the boosters, when the boosters actually came back to Earth and landed on the platform where they were supposed to land? Because have you seen the film about Elon, about his
no.
like his own space race. There's a great film, I think it's on Netflix or it might be Amazon, but it's a fantastic sort of drama documentary thing that follows it. And as you said, I mean, the bloke he nearly bankrupted himself in this quest to get to space, and make it attainable and achievable. And the amount of times that these rocket boosters would, they would either blow up on launch, or they would take off and go up into the sky, then blow up, and then it was like, right, how do we get it back down? And the amount that just plummeted straight to Earth, or loads of issues happened. And then that one time when it came back and it actually landed where it was supposed to land, and then the progress that seemed to, from that one time where it was successful, the progress from then onwards was just phenomenal.
Well, what will be interesting to see is how many he can catch from now on. Has he nailed it now, or how much of that recent one was was just good luck, and how much of it was repeatable?
Who knows?
I can't imagine. I mean, there's got to be some crazy AI going on in that, figuring all this. I mean, it could be just a change, like a couple of knots in wind speed, and it could be all over.
Yeah, absolutely.
So when you consider the forces at play. Absolutely insane. But yeah.
Have you seen his new robot that he's just launched?
Well, I am not a fan, as you've probably well realized, of Elon Musk. I think he is Darth Vader or Emperor Palpatine at worst. I think do you want to talk about electric bikes and electric cars? Because
no problems.
This is my thing, right? We all know it's not about the environment, don't we?
100%.
The move to electric, but a lot of people still don't. But most of us have figured that out.
Yeah.
That it's nothing to do with looking after the environment. It's nothing to do with global warming, and it's everything to do with control. And that's what scares me. It's financial control and it's physical control.
Yeah.
And if you've got a brand new iPhone on a contract, right? If you miss a payment on that phone, what happens?
Yeah, turn the phone off.
Couple of days later, they turn the phone off and they hold you to ransom until you can pay it, right? You imagine that with the Tesla. You just bought a Tesla, your circumstances change, you miss a payment, all of a sudden they've turned your car off. I mean, it'll go that way. And it worries me that the technology that is going to go into telling you where you can and cannot travel.
Absolutely. Monitoring where you go, when you go.
Monitoring you go, eventually stopping you go into certain areas or certain places, like your car will physically not allow you to go somewhere, and the implications of that. Law enforcement potentially being allowed to take control of your vehicle, and the emergency services and all that sort of stuff. How far does that line blur down the road? When could somebody put an injunction on you and not allow you to go to a certain place? And you might argue that if you're a law-abiding, affluent person that could pay the bills all the time and behave themselves, then it shouldn't be a problem. But circumstances can change. I'm old enough to know that your whole life can change in an instant, and then so yeah, that worries me. That financial, physical control, and I think that's what it's all about.
Yeah, absolutely. I totally agree.
Yeah. That's what worries me about that thing. And Elon, bless him, knows all this very, very well. There's not enough lithium on the planet.
No.
We're swapping one finite resource for another one, and lithium mining is poisonous.
It's exactly what I've been saying all along.
Absolutely poisonous. I mean, we're devastating massive areas of rainforest and natural beauty with lithium mines, poisoning communities. It's nothing to do with the environment.
We're robbing Peter to pay Paul with this. That's all we're
absolutely,
doing. That's all we're doing. And if anything, like petrochemicals, traditional petrol engines, and they are now so much more efficient than they were. They're probably actually less damaging on the environment. This is me pulling it plainly straight out my arse, because I'm not a scientist and I have no access to any papers or any research in it, but I would suggest it's probably less damaging on the environment on a whole now to have
the carbon footprint involved in building a Tesla is way more than building a normal car.
And then what happens afterwards? 3, 4, 5 years down the line, then what happens to that? It's poison. Where does it go? Well, it's just going to be dumped somewhere, isn't it?
Yeah, I think. But people fall for the con, don't they? It's just it's frustrating. I'm old enough and wise enough to see a con now, and I can see this. Like, it's like, why? We need to be investing in cleaner fuels. So I think that's the way to go. I know Porsche and BMW were putting a lot of money into fuel research, weren't they? But I don't know how far it's going or whether they'll be allowed. I mean, the corporations just shut people down nowadays, don't they? And
But there's trillions now being invested into electric EVs. So, that's obviously where we're going to go for the foreseeable till they recoup some of that investment.
Yeah.
And then
we're sleepwalking. We're sleepwalking into losing our freedoms. That's what
100%.
That's what scares me. And at the same time, the abolishment of cash. Mm-hmm. And I'll probably sound like a dinosaur to a lot of people, but these are personal freedoms that we need to hold bare. We ought to be able to jump in a vehicle and go wherever we want, whenever we want, and have that freedom.
Mm-hmm. China has the credit score. They have the universal credit score over there, whereby you are tied in to your finances. And by tied in, I mean everything that you do in life is monitored by the government. So if you say anything on social media that they don't agree with, then they lower your credit score, which then means you've got a reduced ability to get any money. They can cut your money off completely if they want, and they already track everybody where everybody go.
That's it. I mean, that's the whole reason for getting rid of cash, right?
That's what our
if it's digital, they can if it's digital, they can turn you off. And what happens is the poverty gap just is going to it's just going to get so big. I mean, it's already terrible, the poverty gap, but people are going to be priced out of driving. People are going to priced out of commute, of having those freedoms. And that's really sad. That's what's scary, Sorry, I went on a big old rant.
Well, mate, that's what this podcast is all about. It's just
there you go.
Two people having a chat. It's interesting about Elon Musk because not that long ago, he went on Joe Rogan for the first time. And Rogan was pushing him about AI because Rogan could see AI coming on the horizon and he was very, very wary of it. And Elon Musk was almost anti-AI. He, in his own style, his own unique way, he was kind of like very matter of fact. He said, this can either be the best thing for humanity or it will be the end of humanity.
Yeah, I can agree. Yeah.
And he said, I think we are probably already approaching, if not already over the hill to stop this. So it's going to be a question of, do we allow it to happen and just see what happens, or do we try and get hold of the reins and get some sort of control over this? And he wasn't entirely sure what he was going to do. The next time he came on Joe Rogan, which was probably less than a year later, he's fully embraced AI. He's gone for it in every sense. It's like, I wonder what he knows that made him do that then, where he just went, right, okay, let's go for it.
Yeah, the problem is, I mean, he's obviously an incredibly intelligent man, but he's also a bit crazy, isn't he? So
eccentric.
That's the bit I have trouble with. He's I get what he's saying though. I mean, AI is scary, right? But it is, we are at a turning point, and it is incredible what it can do. We've just got to make sure we're safeguarding certain aspects of ourselves, and we're not just blindly turning our lives over to AI. I don't like it in the creative industries. I worry about the poverty gap and it just taking over. And what is going to happen to society when nobody's working?
Yeah, absolutely.
You know,
yeah. Do you follow Gary's economics at all?
No.
All right, he'll be worth you. Get on YouTube and just type in Gary's economics, and he's a young English lad who got into investment banking very young. He comes from like a council upbringing. You know, he basically dragged himself up from not the lowest of the low, but you know what I mean. He's come from a very, very working class background, and he's just has an incredibly gifted mind that allows him to grasp figures, and he gets statistics, he gets that sort of stuff, you know, like the investment world, he gets that. So he sort of went into that, and very quickly he became the top earner in the world. You know, he has made hundreds of millions through that. And I think he retired at like in his mid-20s, but he is now on this big drive because he's like, you know, we are at a precipice, again, like what you've just said, where we're going to eradicate the middle class, and you're just going to have this huge gap between the uber rich and the very poor. And he said, and we are just hurtling towards that at the moment, and nobody seems to be addressing that or realizing it. And he said, it's as plain as day. Here it is. So we
are, like I said, we are sleepwalking our way into that society, and all of those films, you know, those apocalyptic films that we saw in the 80s and 90s have been showing us this for years, and we're sleepwalking our way into
haven't
it.
They?
We are being trained up for the apocalypse. I swear, with all the media and stuff that's gone on in the last 20 years, it's like somebody is, you know.
You sound like a mad conspiracy
there's
theorist,
a zombie apocalypse coming up, I'm sorted.
I thought that was happening with COVID. I was like, right, 28 days later, this is what's coming.
I'll be fine.
Yeah, absolutely. Check him out, Gary's Economics.
I will do.
Really,
I think I've heard of it. Yeah, and I might have seen a few videos.
He's big on social media.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. Cheers for that one, Rebecca. Next one, Andy. Evening, both. Hope you're all well. A couple of questions, if I may. If you could design a bike for anyone in the world, whom would it be and why them?
Ooh. That's interesting. It would have to be somebody well known for loving bikes, but at the same time, I don't just want, you know, it wouldn't be somebody. Whoa. Can we bring Steve McQueen back to life?
Oh God!
I would build him a bike in a second. It's a bit of a cliche, I guess, but Keanu Reeves, I love that guy's passion about motorcycles.
Yeah.
The way he talks about riding, it just ticks all the boxes for me. Don't know. Henry Cole. There's a left field one.
Wow. Yeah. Keanu Reeves, Henry Cole.
That's a bit left field. I love that guy. I'd love to spend some time with him. But no, or the Walking Dead fellow. What's his name? Why can't I remember?
Oh God. Really interesting.
Reedus, Norman Reedus.
Norman, yeah.
Somebody like that. Yeah, somebody who is crazy passionate about bikes, and then I'd give them one of mine and they'd hate it. No, but I'd love to. Seriously, that'd be a game changer, wouldn't it?
Did you ever see that chat that Norman and Keanu did about bikes? They're just, I think they were sat in the salt flats and they were just chewing the fat about motorbikes, weren't they? Awesome. Yeah,
it's amazing. Who else is there? Ewan McGregor, I guess. There's all these big, you know. I really like what he did with the round the world trips and all those. You know, long way up, long way down.
They're doing another one, aren't they? They're doing.
Are they? Him and Bowman. I've met Charlie a couple of times.
I think they're doing it on. I think that it's like a. I'm going to say this, but like a proper around the world trip. So like what is attainable for normal people. I think that's what they're going to be doing. I almost, don't quote me on this because I haven't looked into it in any real depth, but just what I've heard on the grapevine was it's going to be like just Charlie and Ewan and off they go, and they film it like I would for YouTube. It's just
you know what? Well, that'd be lovely, but I think I spoke about them last time we were on. But Levi and Ollie, following their trip around. Is it? Have I got that right? Levi and Ollie.
Yeah.
Yeah, following their trip around the world. I mean, that was insane. They are such lovely people, and the way they documented that journey, the ups and the downs, the challenges, the joys. I loved it. I absolutely loved it. Followed that really intensely. So, yeah, similar to what you're saying, just that they just get up and do it. Yeah, that's cool.
Be interesting to see what they do with it. I hope they do something like that where it is just them, because I think that's these days a lot of people criticize Long Way Round and Long Way Down and all that because of the big production team that went with them. But like I always say to people we didn't have the technology that we have now back then. 2004.
Absolutely, yeah.
We didn't have that technology to create.
Yeah, we couldn't do 4K films on quality. A phone. Yeah.
When I went, it was like a 720 was just in. I had the Hero 1, the GoPro Hero 1, and that was 720. That was cutting edge then. It was like looking at some cheese. It was terrible quality stuff. But it'd be interesting to see what they do now and how it compares to the likes of, Lavi and Ollie and everyone else that's out there putting stuff up on YouTube.
Yeah.
We'll see. Second question from Andy. How do you avoid your passion becoming just a job or a paycheck? That is a good question.
Well, there you go. That is a good question. And doing what I'm doing it's not been easy. And I, as you know, from last time we spoke, I left a very, well-paid, safe job to do this. And there has been moments when it's nearly broken me. There has been times when, I've not been able to pay bills. We've been worried about the mortgage. We've been, we've not been able to do the things we used to. And there has been times when it has broken me. But I'm, it's a few years on now and I'm still here and I'm still fighting. There are times when, I had this with music too, because music was my passion and then it was my job. And so I'm used to dealing with that sort of balance. Yeah. And the trick is to find your joy in things. Some builds that I do, and they're usually ones that have been, heavily, when you get a client that is too involved. And I say that in the politest way. Any creative person doesn't do their best work when they are being steered. You need to be left and be, you do your best work when it's you and you're focused and you're following your passion. I'm lucky that most of my clients know that and they trust me. They give me a basic outline of what they require and they just let me go.
Yeah.
And that's when I produce my best work and that's when I'm loving it. That's my passion. I've actually really enjoyed this, even though I was given an inspiration pick, and because the customer wanted this style of bike, and that was the Deus 250 rally, 250, and I took that inspiration and I got stuck into it. But I've really enjoyed that, even though it has been very tightly sort of managed, if you like. The most enjoyable build was the last K100 I did, and I had that perfect client. Brent is just amazing. He trusts me what I do. He gives me the time, the space, and and allows me to do it. And in return for that, he got one of the best bikes I've ever built.
Yeah.
That's the key. The balance is the key is to find the enjoyment. if you're getting stressed about it and it starts feeling like a job, if you're passionate about something, you can find that enjoyment again. When I was a musician, I used to play a couple of bands that I really wasn't into, but it paid me money. But the ones that I really loved, even though I could be 1 minute I'd be on stage with a band in front of thousands of people and not having the best time because I didn't like the music. What I really loved was jamming with 3 or 4 musicians, in a jazz band in a restaurant with 3 or 4 people listening, and you just get to be creative and kicking off each other, and that was the joy. So yeah, sometimes you have to look for it, but yeah, it's not always easy.
Yeah, definitely. It's everybody I've spoken to who's gone down the route of being self-employed and turning your passion into your career, your income. Everybody faces that. It's not easy, but the benefits. The benefits outweigh it, but the minuses and the downtimes are just horrible. Horrible.
Yeah, the thing is that there's only you that can fix it, right? So
yeah.
If you're having a hard time, and like I said, there's been times financially where we've struggled. I still love what I do. And I'm privileged. I fight for that privilege to do what I do every day. And then sometimes I win and sometimes, I lose. But, if you're passionate about something, you keep fighting for it, don't you? Yeah, I know I'm never going to be massively rich doing what I do, but, it's, it's a balance. It's finding the joy. And to be honest, I was never very good at sort of working for other people. I was never a yes man. And increasingly I was, we were all, if you weren't a yes man, you were against the grain,
I see exactly where you're coming from. Yep. Yep.
We've talked this through before, haven't we? If I see something being done wrong, I'd usually say.
Yeah.
People, managers don't like that, do they?
No. Yeah. What I see as incompetence really annoys me. Especially if I see somebody in my old life, if I was to see somebody in a supervisory role above me, they're getting paid more, they've got more responsibility, but you look at them and just go, you're fucking incompetent at what you do. Like, there's no logic to the decisions that are being sent down trickled down in this path.
Yeah.
And you just think, why? Like, if I fuck up, then my ass is in that sling straight away. Do you know what I mean? Like, I am having to answer for it. But it felt like the higher up you went, you were never answerable for your cock-ups, ever.
Yeah, or they just really upset somebody else. Yeah. It's the way of the world. So I am better, and I feel like I'm building something. I feel like I wanted to build something that was mine and not just work for somebody else for the rest of my life. I think I get that from my father as well. Just wanted to have something that was me,
Yeah.
And if I can, leave this planet with a load of my bikes out on the road, leave some sort of legacy that way. And my kids into it too. My kids love it. So, yeah.
How are they? Like, are they at a point where they can come in the workshop now and
twice a week they have to come here before school.
Yeah.
And they love it. Martha is at the age where, she's riding. I mean, she was riding when she was 6. She's 9 now. Mm-hmm. We bought her a bike last summer. She did a first engine swap. I don't know whether you saw that. So we got a little 50cc 2-stroke we bought for her, and we've custom built it. So it was all pink and beautiful. But then we decided we wanted to put a faster engine in it. So I talked her through it. I just sat there and she took the engine out and, and put a new one in. And then day after we took 9. It for a shake, she took it. She's 8 at the time. Took it down the fields for a shakedown ride. Yeah. And that was a proud moment. So that was very cool. Ted's a bit more cautious, but he loves the whole idea of of riding a bike. He's got a little mini moto, but he don't go on it at the minute. It's a bit daunting for him. But he is up on two wheels. He's doing the electric. I built him a little electric motorbike, and he loves that. So we'll see where they go. I mean, Martha was did the kids race at Mallee Mile when she was 7, 6.5, 7 years old. First time she did that. And she was better than most of the boys, All the boys were riding round the ramp and they don't go off it. Martha was just straight up fearless, getting air awesome. At 6. Yeah.
Brilliant, mate. That'd be cool to see. That must be such a nice feeling, to have been putting in all the effort and the work that you've been putting in over the years, and the vision that you have for the business, and to see your kids coming through, and particularly Martha now, she seems to have this appetite for it. That must be awesome to think, it must give you even more of a drive now that, okay, right, we really got to make this work. So there is that path for them to move into if that's what they want to do.
Yeah, of course. And that's the idea of building something. The problem is I keep reaching for stuff, and I was reaching for this. And then you do everything in your power to get it. And then you've got to go, then you step back a month later and go, oh crap, I've got to maintain this now. So, it's anyone who's ran a business and a premises know the overheads that are involved in it. And you're going, oh my God, we've got to do this now. That's a pressure, but building something, for my family, I get emotional if I think about it too much. But
I bet you do.
My dad is a massive influence on me, and I want him to see me doing. He's getting old now. I want him to see me making a success of this as much as I do my kids and my family. But I'm lucky. I've got an incredibly supportive family around me.
Yeah.
My wife's amazing, Rachel. She's my absolute rock. And I can be a pain in the arse if I'm having a tough time, like most blokes. Or I just do that bloke thing and shut myself down, So she puts up with a lot, but amazing woman.
Cool, man. Andy also says, finally, Bruce, if you had to have a custom bike, which style would you want?
Oh, go on, Bruce.
Oh, blimey.
Had to have sounds a bit like a punishment, though.
Do you know,
if you could really get to have one, what would it
be? If you were lucky enough to have a custom bike, what style would I have? I really like I really like engines with character, so something like a V4 or the KTM, the L, what do they call that engine? Is that an L8 or something? Whatever their L engine is. I really like that style of engine. Although, the big boxers on the R18s, I swear they are nowhere near their potential. Because I thought they were going to be a fantastic engine to ride. And they just feel a bit, again, too refined, like too restricted. You just want the animal to come out in them. You know what I mean?
Well, I reckon with a bit of work, you could coax one of those into something amazing. Like I said, the same with the K100. They are a very tame bike when you ride those old police bikes, but when you with a bit of work, you can really make them raw. And I think you can do that with any engine, In
terms of what style,
that's why the custom scene's cool, isn't it?
Yeah, because you can. Well, literally, your imagination is the limit, isn't it? So that's it. Off you go. There's one bike that I've ridden that has genuinely just made my soul smile. Probably because I wasn't expecting it to be the experience it was, and it's the Fat Boy. It's the Harley Fat Boy. I hate to say that.
Really?
But I was not expecting it to be the like the experience it was. You know, I thought they were going to be a bag of shit to ride. I thought they were just going to be horrible things. Didn't expect to enjoy it at all. And I just had a whale of a time. You know, like that, turn the twist of the throttle and you feel everything. You feel the fuel being delivered to the engine and the engine coming alive and shaking and off you go. And you're not even going that quick. But it was
that's
just that's
what bikes should be.
Ride. I loved it.
It's what you were saying about, you know, that bikes can be too refined, especially the brand new, you know, fully stock bikes. Yeah. I want to smell the petrol, smell the exhaust fumes. I want to hear the induction roar on a carburetor bike.
I want to feel it through my body. I want to feel on that bike.
Like I was lucky enough to get the Northman back that I built for everyone else. I built a bike called the Northman. It was my first boutique bike, first high budget bike, and it had been on display. The customer, who is local, which is lovely, it stayed in Yorkshire, but he's basically just had it on display for a couple of years now. And he's finally decided, right, it's waste, time to ride it. So he brought me back to recommission. So I recommissioned it free of charge because it was just a joy to work on it again. But I thought, I asked him, I said, I'm going to take it out for a ride. Just make sure it's all working fine, but it might be an extended shakedown. I might put a few miles on it. And he was fine. So I got back from that, and just like you said, the joy of riding that again. For everyone who doesn't know, it was a 1978 CB 550, but we did a full race rebuild on the engine. We did 2 into 4. We had Mikuni V34 carburetors, so 2 great big Mikuni carburetors from Murray's Carbs over in Salem in the States. With their, we got their prototype inlet manifolds. We did a 4 into 2 into 1 exhaust on it, and the bike was half the weight of the stock bike when we'd finished it. And mate, it was insane. But you could smell the fuel, the burnt fuel. You could hear the induction roar on the Murray carbs. It was like that turbo sound, you know. You get this as you put your throttle down.
Yeah,
front wheels trying desperately to lift as you come out a roundabout. You know, and we had a Gixxer front end on that. You know, with 2 big disc brakes of the stopping power. But I loved riding that. And that was everything. That's what the joy is for me. It's that, you know, the smell, the feel, the power, the, you know.
The experience, it's just the whole experience.
A little old 550. And what I did to that bike, you know, just changed it completely. Somebody said it was like Trigger's broom, right? You know, 5 new handles and 4 new heads on it. It was still the same broom. But, you know, it made a hell of a bike. And that was the joy you're talking about. I experienced again.
Yeah. I've missed it. And I think that's maybe why I enjoyed riding the Gixxer again today, because it just feels so raw compared to all the modern bikes that I'm normally riding these days. Which is that, because it's, you know, still a 2011 technology bike. So it's, you know, it's still got technology built in, but nothing compared to what is out there today. I just loved it. Just really enjoyed it. Oh, maybe a custom Gixxer of some kind.
That'd be interesting.
Oh.
Yeah.
What could you do with one of them?
I don't know. I mean, because you could go the retro route with one fairly easy and have it a Gixxer at heart, but with classic looks. You wouldn't want to spoil that raw sort of racing sort of vibe, would you, that you get on a Gixxer? Yeah. I mean, like, back to what you're saying about Harley. Harley's still on my tick list. I still need to do one.
Is it?
I'm not a massive fan of. I'm not a big fan of Harleys in general. Mm-hmm. It's not really my scene, especially sort of the chopper scene. But I do. I love the engines. I love those big, V-twins. I would like to do something with one, but it would involve stripping it right back. Frame an engine. I'd probably do something that every Harley rider would hate and put clip-ons on it. Those bobbers, those Harley bobbers with the clip-on bars, single seat, just no mud guards, no fenders, just an engine and a frame. I'd probably do that too, I think. Yeah.
Oh, do it.
Oh, it's a Sportster or something.
Anyone out there with a bike and you want it customized, if you got that Harley, get in touch with Jonathan.
Yeah.
Right. Cheers for that, Andy. Next one, Rob Mack. Evening, guys. Hope you're both well. Jonathan, great to meet you at the Scottish Motorcycle Show last year. The new decks look great, and I'm loving the way the CRF has turned out. Here's my question. If money was no object, what bike would you love to give the hull treatment to? Well, we kind of followed that from the last one. Money no object then.
Well, I mean, I'm lucky. I'd love to build my own bike. And I think it's about time now that I did that. And then I could keep, and have a bike in stock all the time, if you like.
Yeah.
But I am lucky that I already get to build very high-end sort of bikes that I wouldn't be able to usually afford. I mean, the K100, my show bikes start at 20K, and they always got the very best sort of technologies and the best techniques in them and the best people, contractors. I get to work with like Tom Hurley, who's clearly the best upholsterer in the UK, if not beyond.
Is he the one that did your seat, the brown seat?
Yeah.
That's beautiful.
He did the K100, the Hockenheim, one, and he's done the CRF seat. And I'm lucky that I'm at a level now where I get to work with those people, and it's so yeah. I'd like to have the money to build myself one of my show bikes, but I currently don't have 20 grand to throw at a bike.
Yeah, no, I get it.
Yeah. But yeah, I would like, if money was no object, I'd buy a power brick. I'd go to Tim at Power Brick and I'd have one of his, I think. So it's not like if I could build a bike, this is just bikes I'd like to own. I'd like to own a Power Brick K100. I'd like to own one of Bob's Tiger Cubs.
Mm-hmm.
They're just beautiful things. This is function follows form. Nothing about, and this is the same with the Innovation G50s. There's nothing on them that doesn't serve a very specific function, but they are built to such a quality that they are beautiful. They're beautiful things. You know, even if you're not into bikes, you look at these bikes and think that's an incredible piece of kit.
Yeah.
And you've never seen a Tiger Cub like Bob's. So yeah, I would like to invest in probably if money was no object, I'd be investing in some of my favorite builders. Motorcycles, I think.
Okay. Okay.
But I do have a very long tick list of bikes I want to build. Yeah.
Rob has a second question, which really took my eye when I was reading out the first one. He says, what's the question you want to ask most, to whom, and why?
Oh, my word. I could have done with some notice with this one. What's the question I'd like to ask
the most, and who would you ask it to, and why
who?
them?
And why them?
Or maybe not necessarily why them, but why? Why are you asking them that question? Or why are you asking that question to them? Maybe that's the best way of phrasing it.
I mean, you could say something really profound, couldn't you, to somebody notorious? But I don't know. I'd need to think that through.
Wow. Off the cuff.
I mean, there's a lot of horrible, notorious people throughout history you want to ask why to, but I don't know.
I want to give it an answer, but I can't think of anything. I can't think of anything off the cuff, like you said, like. Geez.
I mean, I'd love to speak to some of those old engineers. Like, I don't know whether there's they have to be alive or whether for your question, Robert, but, I'd love to know what was going through the mind of some of those like Brunel and, some of those old pioneers, those engineering pioneers, that it just invented these crazy things, figured them out.
For me, it's things like the pyramids, stone circles, all this sort of stuff. All these ancient buildings and constructions that you see. I want to know, like, what is the actual purpose of it? Why were these built? Well, we've got all these different conspiracy theories, but why were they built and how were they built?
I don't think I'm a conspiracy theorist. I mean, you made a joke about it before. I don't think I'm a conspiracy theorist, but I do think I have an eye for a con. Mm-hmm. I would like to know what's going on at Area 51, though, wouldn't you?
Yeah, I 100%. I think that there's more there going on there.
Yeah, I don't know.
Is it little green men? I don't know.
But yeah.
I think we have technology that is
way beyond
way
what we're
advanced.
allowed. Yeah, what we're allowed to see. Yeah. Great question. I am going to ponder that, and if I come up with an answer, I'll post it on my socials.
We're not going to sleep for weeks now, are we?
No, no.
Right, last one from Patreon, and there's a couple on Instagram. Are you okay for time, mate?
Absolutely fine, yeah.
Right,
well, mind you, we did go on for about 2.5 hours last time, didn't we? So we should probably aim for it.
Next one, Chris in Dubai. Hello, gentlemen. How you doing, Chris?
Hi, Chris.
Lately, I hear the term, this is too much power, or this is all the power you need, quite often from various people. Do you agree with this, or do you also feel that more is better? Obviously, we all want different things, but personally, I like a bike to be exciting and a little bit scary. Okay, these days, too much power?
Depends what it is, right? Power and speed are exciting, obviously. Yeah. And that's probably why we're all on a bike, but it depends. We've spoke about this before as well. I can have a joyful time on a 125, 150, 190.
Yep.
And I can happily just have a lovely, lovely time riding, throwing one around, be it green laning or, just round a town or a city. But the other side of that, I mean, I'm lucky I get to ride so many different types of bikes, like I guess it's the same as you. But there's nothing like, straight line speed. I got to ride the Hockenheim. I don't know whether you clocked that. I got the opportunity to run it down a runway.
I don't think I've seen that.
I just built it because it was off the cuff. We'd gone for a photo shoot at the local airfield, who I've got a good connection with now. And we were photographing the Hockenheim in the hangars. And then the guy that was the head of ground crew there, who was shifting planes around for us, says, "Oh, well, if I jump in the fire tender with your photographer, why don't you rip it down the runway a couple of times?" I had no leathers, no helmet, no nothing. So my brain was telling me this is a terrible idea. My heart was saying, if you miss this opportunity, when do you get to rip a bike you built down a runway, on a private airstrip? So I don't do this at home, ladies and gentlemen, but I chose to do it. And it was just incredible, just being able to, bomb it down. So yeah, I think bike riding is a joy. You can find it anywhere on any bike. So power and speed is great, but I can have just as much fun on a 125. There's my answer.
100% I agree with you. I don't subscribe to, you're not a biker unless you do this. If you own one of these bikes, you're this type of person. If you own that type of bike, you're that. I don't subscribe to any of that. It's just bollocks.
No, absolutely, yeah.
It's just, I don't care what I'm riding, whether it's got 3 wheels, 2 wheels, one wheel, four wheel. I don't care. If I'm enjoying it, I'm enjoying it. And it's got bugger all to do. Sometimes it's because it's got a load of grunt and it's got a load of power and tickles me nuts and puts a massive grin on my face. But as you just said, I can be riding a 125cc, screaming the nuts off this thing and going at 25 mile an hour, and I am having the time of my life.
Yeah.
I think these days, CCs are all having to go up because of emissions. They're having to put the CCs up in order for us to get those facts and figures that everyone chases, or a lot of people chase. They want certain BHP, they want certain torque. Well, to get that with these increasing emissions standards and the restrictions they impose, they're having to up they've got to up the CC in order to still give us these headline figures that people seem to want. So, that's why the power's going up, isn't it?
Well, it is, yeah. And you've got one thing I did learn when I was at Innovation is that horsepower, horsepower is meaningless if it's not applied right.
Yeah.
So you can have these engines that produce massive horsepower, but if it's not applied to the rear wheels right, then it doesn't mean anything.
Yeah.
So and racing engineers know that. It's people that aren't in the know, rely on those figures, and they're all punted out to us. And it was a clever piece of marketing. The guy that invented, I can't remember his name, the guy that invented horsepower as a reading, he wanted something to market. And that's why he came up with that. Right. Something that was easy for people to picture: 1 horse, 2 horse, 3 horses, and so on. So it was a marketing scheme in itself, but clever. But yeah, so we have to be careful of the numbers, careful of the figures. Get on a bike and ride it. Don't make your choice. Don't make your choice until you've got on it and ridden it. I was a bit prejudiced about the old adventure bikes before I got on that one, and it was a stock bike, and I really enjoyed it. And now I can see myself being an adventure biker. So
you're gonna get yourself a peak lid and a rucker suit. Says the man that has a peak lid and a rucker suit.
Maybe. Yeah.
It happens to us all. Yeah. Right. Okay. So that's us done over on Patreon. Thank you very much to everyone in the clan over there for those questions. Thank you. It was
fun.
We've got a last few over on Instagram. I don't think there's any on Facebook when we started. No, I don't think there is. No. But we've got some on Instagram. So, King Bespoke Creations. Chris. How you doing, Chris? Question for Jonathan. What do you think will be the next trend? Classic tourers, retro adventure bikes? Discuss.
This was the question I was talking about. And I don't know. I think the new wave scene that as Rebecca said, this new wave scene that I've fallen into is clearly here to stay. It was, coming out of COVID, that sort of times, it got really big because people were fascinated by seeing these beautiful pictures of bikes on, stripped back new wave calves on Instagram and socials, and it really took a big boost. And the worry for those of us in the scene was that if that was going to disappear, post COVID, whether that boom was going to die down. People like the Bike Shed and Malay and have kept that sort of scene alive, but it's less about. I think it's less about the looks now. Well, it is. No, it is about looks and style, but it's got to be about function. And the best bikes now that you see at the shows, the best new wave customs, are just beautifully engineered bikes. And that mantra I keep saying of form follows function. I don't know about trends, and it goes up and down. I mean, there was one time when I first started in the scene that all you'd see was R100s, and I still want to build one. I still got on a tick list. But and you sort of do get those trends. And then we got in. Then all of a sudden, it was scramblers, and then flat trackers more recently. But they were all within this new wave scene. So the style shifts within the new wave scene. The style shifts a lot. I don't know where it's going next.
What instigates this then? What instigates the style?
I don't know. It's just, I guess somebody just comes up with a beautiful bike and everyone goes, oh, I want to build one of those.
Yeah.
Like, when I first started, it was all calf races, right? It was all stripped back calves. Then we all sort of moved into scramblers, and we're all like, wow, massive, big trials bike tires on them, and high handlebars, and brat seats, and getting into those scrambler things. And then it shifted like a year ago. We started seeing those flat trackers come up, and there was some beautiful like classic flat tracker builds. And some of the guys that, Anthony Partridge and Stib Knight Moto and those people were building brilliant flat trackers. And then it's coming back around again. We're back on sort of calves. But they're evolving all the time. I don't know I can't really speak on the chopper scene or anything like that, but it's kind of fluid. And we all kick off each other, If Ziggy Moto comes up with a design and it goes mad and everyone's like, whoa, he's, because he's a cool designer, then it might take another change or one of the, It only takes somebody to build just a beautiful example of something left field, and then people want to emulate it,
Do you follow car designs?
Don't follow, no, but I see him.
I love some of his. I had him on the podcast, and I love some of his conceptual designs that he comes up with, and then how like some of the manufacturers actually then go and build them. They see his design ideas, and then they grab hold of it and go, "Yeah, all right, let's go with that."
Mm.
So, car.
Well, that's what I like about Ziggy, because he will. He's a designer by trade, so digital designer. So he will do a full digital creation of his bike. The difference with Ziggy is he'll then go away and build it, and it will look exactly the same. Yeah, wow. I mean, he's such a talented man. But yeah, that's what's cool.
Do you think with the death of? I don't know why I'm thinking this, because I've got absolutely no knowledge, insight, or qualifications in your sector at all. But I'm just thinking to myself, sports bikes are pretty much dead now. There seems to be the odd little, like they just released that R9, but I mean,
people are, and I think what would be interesting if we saw that early 80s sports bike shape, I'm seeing glimpses of that coming back, especially like nods to the early 70s race bikes.
That's what I'm wondering. I think we might grab those like Lita sports bikes and do something.
I would like to do sort of a traditional sort of classic track bike, but in all aluminium. All of the fairing in high polished coach built aluminium. I'd love to do that.
Wow.
Do you know what I mean? So it just looked like a silver bullet.
Like that Norton V4, was it R they did? That brushed aluminium or chrome. It might have even been chrome, but God,
like highly polished stuff. Yeah.
I mean, apparently it was a bag of poo mechanically, but aesthetically to look at it.
I would definitely want it to be. Yeah, I definitely want it to be a race bike. It'd have to perform like one. But I'd love to take those classic racing lines. The fairing and the parallel and have that coach built in. Some really high quality aerospace aluminium.
There's got to be somebody out there watching or listening who has the wherewithal to connect up with Jonathan here and make this happen.
I was interested in doing something with Toby Southern. He's an incredibly talented coach builder, but he's he is disillusioned with the motor industry, I think, and he's a very talented sculptor now. He's turned his coach building into beautiful sculptures.
Wow.
And good luck to him. He's an amazingly talented guy, and he's very knowledgeable about economics as well. Back to our prior conversation, but yeah, it's such a skill, that coach building is such a dying art and it's such a shame to see that skill, disappearing.
Is something like that likely to come back, or is it a case of once that goes, that's it gone, or is it
same
one of
with
these
all this engineering? That's
back?
what I go out looking for, like people like Martin, Innovation, and Bob, and these are guys in their 60s, 70s, and I don't want their skills and to die with them,
Mm-hmm.
I just want to learn as much as I can off people, and working in a traditional engineering shop. I mean, Innovation have like 5-axis CNC machines, state of the art, one side, and then the other side of the factory was just 100-year-old Myfords and Bridgeports, proper manual engineering machinery. And the old guys that worked in there, the knowledge they have, it's just insane, They have in their heads what the computers and the program, the computers are using today, but they can do it. They can just go to a manual machine and they can make something, and they have the knowledge to do that. And that's absolutely incredible. I think what we're going to lose engineering wise is the process and that knowledge and that skill. We're all going to be just relying on a computer to figure that out for us. And I think that's a bit of a shame. I know it's progress. You don't, it's great. You don't have to learn the skill anymore. A computer does it for you. But
no, I get that.
I kind of get a kick out of it, and being able to create something out of nothing.
Yeah.
Start with
creativity.
That's what I said with me and Gus had this conversation. I don't know how we got onto this, but me and Gus had this conversation. You start with a flat piece of sheet steel or a flat piece of sheet aluminium, and at the end of the day, you have created something beautiful and tangible out of that flat piece of sheet steel. That's a big turn on for me. I love that, getting creative, building something out of nothing, or getting on a machine and turning a big lump of aluminium into even if it's something as simple as a drop pin or
that's got to be incredibly rewarding for you.
It is.
Like just on a like on a basic level for a creative person to create something. It's got to be food for the soul, isn't it? It has to be.
Yes, I mean that light fitting there, that didn't exist. That started as a flat sheet steel. If you follow the build process, I mean, it's simple. It's just a googly eye light fitting, but it didn't exist before. Now it does. So yeah, it is a big, just simple things like that,
Right. Second last question. Gary Wallace, 68. It's not really a question. He just says, one of the nicest blokes on the scene, and I watched them build some incredible looking bikes. Proud to call him a mate. Wishing you all the best for the future. P.S. Dude, we're way too old for hammocks. Come on, was this me? What's the story?
Right. Thank you, Gary. You're a beautiful man. Right. Do I explain the hammocks? 2 years ago, I went to the bike shed, and it was one of those tough times, and I didn't have enough money to splash out on a hotel room in the middle of London at showtime. So I found this little campsite in the 15 minutes out of the centre of London. And I can't remember the name of it now, I've been asked. But it was this little oasis in the middle of this sort of normal sort of housing estate. You went down this road, you turned right after a big row of terraces, and all of a sudden you're in this oasis, this campsite that you could be in the middle of the Lake District or whatever. It's crazy.
Wow.
And this is 15 minutes out of the centre of the city of London. So I stayed there for a few nights. And I had this little tent, but it was freezing. So I got a hammock I'd bought years ago, and I'd just thrown it in the back. So what I did is I spanned it between the two corners of my van. So in the back of the Transit, and I slept in the hammock all weekend. And I don't know whether you ever slept in a hammock, Bruce, have you?
No, I've not, no.
There's a reason the sailors used to do it all the time. It's brilliant. I mean, you're off the ground for starters, and it's such a comfy night's sleep. The reason he's brought it up now is because that hammock is now swinging in my office. So I did an all-nighter down here a couple of weeks back. I did an all-nighter on this. I had a lot of painting and finishing to do. So rather than, just trudging through it over several days, like painting and then going and then lacquering and then, rather than stretching it out, I decided to do an all-nighter, and I got up every 2 hours and recoated.
Yeah.
And I slept in the hammock. I slept in the hammock up in the office, and it was nice. It was a nice bonding experience,
Oh, yeah, I get that.
in my space, and it got the job done. And yeah, so if you haven't tried sleeping in a hammock, I recommend it. Yeah,
I need
getting
some big
out,
trees.
Getting in and out of it is a bit of an issue when you're out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not exactly not delicate. What's the word?
Did you see that that Instagram? I think it was a TikTok thing that went viral of the guy that put one up in a bus. And then
In a bus?
got in it. Yeah, he swung his hammock in a bus and then got in it and wrapped himself up. And everyone was going crazy, telling him to take his hammock down, and he wouldn't. He got really cross. Yeah. Anyway,
Watch this. Hammock sales are going to go soar through the roof. Right.
Yeah,
last one. Real Schwerty. Bruce, you didn't get to my question when you had Kate on, so I repeat it. Please explain to your guest and all of us why Yellowstone is such a great show. Oh, come on. Have you watched Yellowstone?
Are you a fan of Yellowstone?
Love it. Absolutely.
Is that why he's asking?
I think it must be. Yeah, I think I've gone on about it a few times on podcasts.
Right. I mean, I'm also a big fan. I do. That's my wind down. My wind down time at night when the kids are in bed is I watch a lot of box sets and stuff, and I love sort of dramas. Yeah, Yellowstone was amazing, but I do feel cheated.
Yes.
Because you get it didn't resolve anything at all, and it just stopped halfway through the last season. Was it 5 or 4?
Halfway through season 5.
Yeah, and it just stopped. Back. And then is it though?
Yeah, November.
Kevin's been up and down on it, hasn't he, Mr. Costner?
Costner is not coming back. He said he's not coming back, so it's going to be without him. But in November, I think it restarts.
Oh well, that's interesting. I mean, is it Yellowstone without him?
Be interesting, wouldn't it? I mean, what an ending it was, though. You're like, well, not even an ending, but the last episode that was on there, you're just like, oh my good God, this is going to be like the end of days, whatever's going to happen here.
Yeah, I like those.
Beth's feisty.
She's an amazing woman, isn't she? I mean,
she's British as well, apparently. She's a British actor.
Right. Okay. Yeah. Wow. Dangerous, crazy. Yeah. Yeah, I like her.
Yeah. Schwerty, I'm sorry I never got to your question, mate, but we had an insane amount of questions when Kate was on, username Kate. So I don't think we even did all the Patreon questions, so there's no chance we could get to any of the other social media.
Oh, bless you. Yeah. I'll tell you what's been good. What I've been enjoying back on, if we're talking about TV.
Yeah, go on.
What's it called on Apple? Slow Horses. I do enjoy that.
Not seen it. I've not watched any Apple TV yet.
Gary Oldman, because he plays a MI5, like an ex-MI5 agent who runs a company of misfits called Slow Horses. It's very cool. Very cool. And Gary Oldman's just gold dust, isn't he?
Have you watched any of the offshoots from Yellowstone?
No. There's a few, isn't there? No, I haven't.
There's about 4 or 5, I think. Excuse me.
Right.
I've watched them all, love them all, but they're still not Yellowstone. It's like,
are you a cowboy? Are you a cowboy at heart? Are you, Gus?
Yeah, I think I am. Like I watch things like Outlander or like when Braveheart was out, and I'm like, that's me. Just take me back to those days. Like The Simple Life. I'd love that. And then I watch things like Yellowstone or anything to do with the cowboy sort of like just being at one. Just out on the land and just getting on with it. I can hear that, yeah. I don't know if I'd be any good at it, but you know, I find that way of life very appealing. But then I'm sat in my nice house with internet and on-demand food and a TV, and heating. You know? So when you're sat shivering your nuts off under a tree in the rain, having to kill whatever you're going to eat, maybe it's not going to be that romantic after that. But I like the idea of it. Yeah.
Awesome,
dude. That's all the questions. We've done them. Smashed them.
Oh, well, that's been absolutely lovely.
2 hours. Happy days. It's not a bad length, that.
Has it really been that long again?
It's about that, yeah. I think we're coming on 2 hours now, yeah. So, if people want to find out more about Jonathan Hull and Son, where do they go? What do they do?
Well, I'm active as always on Instagram. That's my chosen sort of outlet for sort of my social media posts. I have all the other social accounts, but they're not monitored as closely as my Instagram account. Mm-hmm. So if you want to see if you're just interested to see what I do, then that's the place to be. If you want to get in touch, then it's jonathanhull.co.uk. If you go on my Instagram profile, there's a link tree that has all of my details in it, all the relevant places and a contact form and all that. So that's where to get me.
As always, folks, all those links will be down below. Jonathan, if someone was interested in having a custom bike built by you, what sort of lead time are you looking at? Is that can you say that, or is it entirely dependent on?
It's entirely dependent on what the project is, and I've learnt, if it's one of my smaller bikes, I can do them in 3 months on the inside, 6 months on the outside, depending on how busy I am. I'm a one-man entity. The bigger, bespoke show bikes take time, and it depends on the projects.
Gotcha.
But so it can be 6 months, it can be 8. It depends what it is, and the budget that we have, and all that sort of stuff. So, if you are interested in, I guess owning a singularity, a one-off, beautiful custom, then get in touch with your ideas and we'll have a chat. That's how it works. See awesome. if we are in line, then there you go. Job's done.
Mate, I'm so chuffed to see how things have turned out over the last year or so since we last spoke, and I can't wait to see what beautiful bikes you come up with over the next year or so. It's going to be awesome.
Well, thank you. Yeah. Show season will soon be upon us. I mean, it's build season now, I guess, for most, and then getting ready for next year. I don't know whether I'll end up using this for, asking the client if he minds using that next. It will be going down to the bike shed though very soon, that one. So
when's the bike shed? When's that?
Oh, the show is the show's not till the end of May next year now. But this one is heading down to the Shoreditch branch when it's done.
It's going to be in the actual bike shed itself.
Well, we're doing, we're going to be doing. I don't think I can say too much about it. It's a bit hush, but it'll be heading to Shoreditch shortly.
Follow his socials.
It's exciting. Yeah.
All right, awesome, mate. Any shout outs you want to give? Any plugs you want to give? Feel free.
I want to say hi to Alan Kilwood Bushido. It's a very close friend of mine. Just big shout out to everybody who's supported me over the years. People like Stu Winterburn have been following me. India Alessandra, who the person who designed my beautiful logo all those years ago, still going strong, and she's still supporting me. It's overwhelming sometimes. You're just doing what you do, and then you get people that send you like lovely messages, and I've been lucky with the support that I've had over the years. Thanks to my wonderful family who couldn't be doing any of this without. Yeah.
Awesome, mate. Well, I'll tell you what, credit where credit's due for you as well, because none of this happens without the passion, the drive, and the talent, the basic talent, really, that you have in order to push the dream. So, Awesome, mate. It's great to see what you've
thank
done
you.
with it so far.
It's lovely to catch up with you too.
And you, man. And you.
Keep doing what you're doing.
And when you open the first international branch, it'll be great to chat with you then as well.
Awesome. Yeah, I'll keep that in mind.
All right, bud. Look after yourself, mate. All right, it's been great having you on. Folks, hope you've enjoyed this one. Again, as I said, I'll leave all Jonathan's links down below, so make sure you give him a follow. And as he said, if you think you might be in the market for having a custom build bike, then drop him a line and see where you go with that. All right, folks, keep doing your thing. Keep looking after those that you love. Get on out there whenever you can. But most importantly, live your life. Woo-ha!